Okay, you asked for it.
Hey, so I've been really busy lately with all kinds of things, meaning I've had a really hard time actually getting a video out each week, including the chat episodes. I started a new job, and I've been keeping up on my commission-based side work, and just generally getting ready for what's going to be a very chaotic year's end. I promise you, though, that actual Halloween videos are coming soon, and that they'll all be a lot more fun when they do come out than the normal stuff. So rather than a traditional podcast, I thought I'd list for you some spooky season recommendations, whether they be movies, books, TV shows, comics, anime, internet series, whatever. For those who don't want to listen, though, there will be a list of each of them in the description so you can get your Halloween vibes going right away. Starting off with some lighthearted content, we have Over the Garden Wall. Yeah, I mean, perhaps it's overdone, but it's still just that good. For those who don't know, weirdly enough, I don't know how you've managed to avoid it, it's a tale of two brothers who get lost in this, 1800s Americana setting wilderness full of whimsy and, also just straight up evil. The music, the characters, the visuals, the themes of isolation, growing up, and death, all in one kid's show, quote-unquote. It's got it all. We make a point of watching this every year around here, so go give it a try. It's only 110 minutes long in total, so really, what have you got to lose? Just make a movie night out of it. But anyways, next up is Ghost Watch. I know it's becoming overdone these days, but at least YouTube, at least on YouTube, but it's a good example of analog horror before analog horror was a thing, and honestly, it's still pretty creepy sometimes. It's like a live recording of them doing a ghost investigation with British people, so it's terrifying, you know? Anyways, what else we got? We got Skinamarink. You've probably heard of this one making the rounds. It's the closest thing I've seen to a wide-release film get to capturing that dream-like feeling, aside from a couple of entries that are coming up later on. It truly is just like walking through a nightmare. I will say that the first time through, you might have a hard time discerning what's actually going on, but let it sit for a while and you'll start to wonder. If I had to summarize it, though, I'd say it's a movie for feeling cozy in the worst way possible. Darkplace. It's a funny show. It's very funny. It takes place in a hospital, and it's like Looney Tunes, Tim and Eric, and an early Zucker Brothers movie all in one. Plus, it's free on YouTube right now. It's hilarious. Seriously, you've got nothing to lose. Go watch it. You don't even gotta pay them. Just pirate it. It's fine. The Garfield Halloween Special. I know, what a fucking drop-off. This one's also free, though, so probably no one else is going to like it. Not because it's free, but probably nobody else is going to like it. But it's genuinely kind of creepy and scarring at one specific point. All the kids that grew up on this alongside me know exactly what I'm talking about. I can remember checking this one out all the time from the library. They didn't have it at my video store, but the library always had a bunch of Garfield stuff. So I remember checking this out all the time and then taking it home and rewatching it and probably destroying that poor tape from watching it so much. Mostly around Halloween. It's not like I watched this all year round, but it's genuinely pretty good. Yeah, my Garfield phase has lasted entirely too long, but I'd rather die than not watch it again this year. For me, it's nostalgic for nostalgic's sake, but for you, perhaps you'll fall in love with something you never knew you could before. Like Lou Rawls' beautiful singing voice as Garfield in this special, plus a bunch more. And yeah, that's real. Lou Rawls was the singing voice of Garfield. I didn't make that connection for a long time until I was like, one day I realized that like it probably wasn't what's his name singing all those songs? Garfield? I think his name's just Garfield. I wish I could remember that actor's name right now, but it doesn't matter because we're moving on to Marble Hornets, and like at this point I know what you're all saying, this list is just getting worse and worse, but yes, the Slenderman, I'm serious. But if you're gonna watch this, just watch season 1. Like seasons 2 and 3 are like just drag for too long. They've got good stuff, but it's really spaced out. And season 1's got like a consistently good little scare in each video. It's kind of responsible for starting the whole ARG thing in a lot of ways. But yeah, the reason I say season 1, like, it ends off on a good enough spot, and it's crazy just how much this series, like, inspired every other series. Not every other series, but a lot of series on YouTube. I thought it was real for a little bit, probably. Because why would someone make this up and put it on YouTube? I don't know. I don't know if you can even get into the mindset that existed at that time anymore to watch this show. But if you could, suspend your disbelief for a little bit and try to imagine this as like a 12-year-old that just started watching this on YouTube and doesn't have Twitter or Facebook or anything else. Like, it's a lot, but it's pretty good. I know how you guys are probably thinking this list just gets worse and worse, but Spawn, that's the movie that's from the 90s that's notorious because the CGI is bad. But like, honestly, it's so much fun. That's enough said. You're gonna laugh during this movie and you might even feel something. But speaking of Spawn the animated series from HBO was another Spawn thing, but like far, far better. It's dark, grungy, 90s comic book goodness, if such a thing exists. This has it all, and I'd argue it holds up very well. But while we're on the topic of comic books, the Maxx was an MTV series which had a very unique kind of mixed media visual style that was cut down in its prime. As it is, it's like a depressing tale of a guy who thinks he's a superhero, kind of. It's a character piece. It studies most of it. Studies most of its characters. It spends most of its time examining their psyches, and it builds a great atmosphere. I love it, and because it's only like 8 episodes long, it's easy to watch. It does have some very heavy themes, though, related to depression and trauma, so keep all of that in mind when going into it. Might not be the most fun thing to turn on for everyone. Up next, Twin Peaks. It's like a murder mystery show where they actually care about the person who got murdered, and so do you. If you have the time, the first and third seasons are exceptional. They got some standouts, and even like some of the best moments coming from the lackluster season 2. The movie Fire Walk With Me is full of that Lynchian goodness that will make you say, what the hell just happened? And then you'll never actually find out what in fact did just happen. It's great. Back to comic books though, Batman Year One is a comic which I've always associated with Halloween, partly due to the coloring and the trade paperbacks. I don't know, there's something refreshing about seeing Batman in his youth running around and getting beat up. Like, unlike his usual hulked out comic book look, and this he just looks like a dude who's realistically fit, wearing a skin-tight suit. The drama in here is great, and the characterization of everyone is really good, especially Gordon, who has a midlife crisis throughout the story, and he does some shitty stuff that challenges our normal view of him, I would say. The whole thing reminds me of that Gotham 1919 to 1939 book, which I also recommend this holiday season if you can get your hands on it. I have not gotten my hands on it, but it looks really cool. And while we're talking about Batman, how could I forget Batman the Animated Series? Truly, any episode from the show kind of has that perfect dark atmosphere for Halloween time viewing, but for my money, On Leather Wings is a great start to the series and is perfect for Halloween time viewings. Plus the movie is great. How do you say perfect? What's another word for like perfect? Mask of the Phantasm is seriously one of the best Batman experiences, period. It's one of the best superhero movies, period. This thing gets right about Bruce Wayne what most adaptations wish they could, and it frames Bats as not just like a badass protagonist, but a tragic one whose never-ending and really quite unhealthy obsession with his dead parents is well justified throughout both this movie and the series. I wrote that line, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, I'm done with Batman though. Let's talk about Oz. Return to Oz specifically, which has that creepy vibe that Oz should have and did have in the books. I just finished reading the first 5. I really wanted to like most of them. It's hard to explain. Anyways, it's like what Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland kind of wishes it could be. It's got so much heart and flair while knowing when to restrain itself, I would argue, and also it's quite frankly disturbing the more you think about what's really going on in it. It's never just like a black and white issue in this movie. Everything is gray, and then you meet the Wheeler monkeys and give me nightmares, and it's terrible. Anyways, next is the Halloween tree. I haven't seen it yet, but my friend Steve said it was a must-watch, so here's to you, Steve. I promise to watch it if everybody else here does too. Swear it. Anyways, Frankenstein, the book. It has great atmosphere and is genuinely visceral at times. The movie starring Boris Karloff is also great, but it trims down a lot of that brutality of the novel, such as how the monster himself actually is. Like, I can't do it justice, but imagine a creature as large as Frankenstein's monster, but he moves astonishingly fast and is absolutely silent. It's like getting stalked by a T-Rex. There's this video out there that I remember just now called Dinosaurs in the Backrooms, and I know that sounds really dumb, and it should be really dumb, which is why I clicked on it, but it's just like a 1-minute video of someone encountering a T-Rex in the backrooms, and it gets that like feeling of running into a wild animal so perfect. It's really weird. I'll link it below. It's a weird addition though. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is one that I watch almost every year, along with The Witch's Ghost. There's nothing really to say. It's like, it's the best Scooby-Doo movie, aside from Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, which that movie can only be properly experienced on peyote, I believe. But the plot of this movie does not require peyote, and it is as follows. Scooby-Doo and the gang go to Florida, and then they go to Zombie Island. Or is it Louisiana? It's Louisiana. I'm a fake fan. House, 1977. It's just weird and wacky and wonderful. Like, it's unlike anything I've really seen in a movie before. I can't really describe anything about this film because you just need to go into it raw, but there is a girl who gets eaten by a musical instrument. Yeah. And now we move to Eraserhead. And what a feel-good movie that is. Eraserhead made me reconsider fatherhood. One of my favorite movies ever. It feels like a dream more than any other thing I've ever seen before. Besides maybe Skinamarink. No, maybe it's not a feel-good movie at all, now that I'm thinking about it. Something that is feel-good, though, is Wizard People, Dear Reader. This one depends on whether or not you see Harry Potter as more of a Halloween or a Christmas film, but either way, it's hilarious, and honestly, pretty nostalgic. It's essentially just a commentary track for Harry Potter, where a dude, like, does all the voices and describes everything that happens. It's the best. I can't even go into it too much. You should just watch it. I could just sit here and quote it all day. Something that I had just seen, actually, is Donnie Darko. I know this is probably already on everybody's list. It's not really a scary movie. It's a movie that's going to make you wonder what was happening for the last hour and a half, and yet it all kind of makes sense in some way. It's one of those rare movies I've seen where the ending is both very satisfying, but leaves a lot of questions. And that's the thing. I think if you're a person that asks questions about movies, or stories, or narratives, or whatever, you're probably going to leave this movie unsatisfied, whereas somebody who's not in it to look for deeper meaning in a movie can exit it and still say, that was a good conclusion to the story. It's very good. It's very good. Anyways, next up is a movie called On the Silver Globe, which is a atmospheric film, which kind of feels like Dark Souls. It's like the closest I've seen a movie get to that feeling, though it was made before Dark Souls, so I guess Dark Souls was just really good at capturing the feeling of On the Silver Globe. But while we're at it, we should put Dark Souls on here. It's that first game in particular, it just feels so unique and barren. The third one kind of has a similar atmosphere. It's a little more like apocalyptic in that one, but the first one still has a good feeling to it that everything is winding down, that the world is kind of coming to an end, and it's very oppressive. It's one of those environments where it's just constantly grim, so that when there is a little happy moment, it just is all the better. And then they take those happy moments and they break your heart. It's cruel, but I love it. Speaking of cruel, Fire in the Sky. Without spoiling it, this movie reawakened my childhood fear of aliens, and it will do the same for you. Blair Witch Project. That's a classic. I don't have to go into it. I'm just gonna watch it, and I thought you should know I was gonna watch it. But while we're at it, let's throw in some respect for the people right here on YouTube, such as a series that I watch every Halloween, the Oni Plays Witch Hunt series. I know, if you like Let's Plays and are a hopeless procrastinator, then you'd probably like this series. I really like this series. You got Zach acting like his normal self, but sometimes he gets backed into a corner because the game is scary. Chris is just doing his thing, and then later on, Tomar joins in, and it's just a nice, comforting feeling. You know, aside from being a series starring like a real-life felon and criminal, Joshua Tomar, and aside from all the terrible things that Zach Hadel has done to his fans, and aside from that one time that Chris like pulled a woman's hair out at MagFest, it's a lot of fun. And I hope that they would approve of that joke. Next up we have Midnight Crick's alternate universe Pokemon Iceberg. It's so weird and unique. It's like a new YouTube classic for sure. The name says it all, to be honest, like just Pokemon facts from another reality where it never got to be as big of a franchise. It ended off at 2 generations in this universe, and that's kind of the whole basis of it. It really reminds me of how Pokemon used to be mysterious back in the days of the early internet before Generation 3. Kanto and Johto just had like this vibe where the others never really came close to it. It was like being in a warm little modern day 1990s library carpeted cottage where your mom is stewing up some Halloween candy for dinner and your dad's hard at work at the grandma's house energy plant. Could you get any warmer? Like, also you're eating a little Chef Boyardee before dinner's ready, and this video comes almost as close to that feeling, even. Yeah, all that to say that the way that Generation 1 and 2 of Pokemon felt is very near and dear to me, and this captured the mystery and kind of creep factor of that generation very well. Did you guys know they like straight up killed Pokemon in the manga? You guys ever read like the Pokemon Adventures manga? Yeah, Pokemon just like die. People die too. It's really pretty gruesome actually. But anyways, on to our final entry of the night. We have Indistinct Chatter, episode 1. Watch this on the coldest night of October. It's also good for Christmas, coincidentally. But aside from Skinamarink, aside from Eraserhead, this is the closest I've ever seen someone get to capturing that dreamlike feeling. But not just like any dream, but specifically for me, the dreams you'd get on Christmas Eve. On those nights where all is still, where all is quiet, and you're waiting in anticipation for something when you awake. That's what it feels like. It's not too scary, and it's not too peaceful either. It's that feeling of quiet acceptance, of holding on to something that is constantly deteriorating, yet just too tantalizing to put down. Yeah, I wrote that line too, I'm not gonna lie to you. I love all of the topics on this list, to different extents, but all at the same level of regard. If I could create something like them, I would, and I hope I can share that inspiration with you all. So, happy Halloween, and, no, I guess that's it. Just happy Halloween. Goodbye. I love you. I love you. That first one, that didn't sound very genuine.